Good evening. My name is Ben Shaeffer, and as you mentioned, Casey and I have been members here since 1983. Casey, that's 26 years. And in the 26 years that we've been members of First United Methodist Church, I have to say that Reverend Terry Powell ranks right up there with the best pastors that we've ever had. And at the time, I was a lay leader of the church. The thing I remember about Friendly First was we were going through some difficult times. The attendance was declining. We only had one service. It was really hard to start anything new. It felt almost impossible to grow. But as I reflect on Terry's style of ministry, you're a pastor that makes it look easy. I'll never forget the first night that we had Terry and Zane over at our house for dinner with our two children, Adam and Lindsay. We had a nice dinner that night, and one of the things that we remember, Adam said this after Terry had left. He says, you know, I think I'm going to really like that church because Pastor Terry's like a real person. And then, you know, of course, he likes Ohio State. And unfortunately, I tried my hardest to impart those words of, you know, that great institution on our son Adam, but he continued to root for Michigan. So one time, after several losses to Michigan, Pastor Terry and Adam had a bet. And he said that if Michigan wins, Pastor Terry had to dress up, you know, in all the Michigan garb on the following Sunday. And then if Ohio State won, then, you know, Terry, Ohio State won, then Adam was going to have to wear all the garb, right? Right from Ohio State. And what happened that day? Remember that?
He was dressed in scarlet and gray all day.
Remember that day, Adam? That was a great day. Probably the last time we'll see him dressed in scarlet and gray. I'm impressed with all the activity that I've seen over the last 9 years. Terry's passion to stay in love with God and devote his life to building his kingdom. I get the weekly email from dads, and I check in on you all once in a while. It's amazing the things that are going on. I have to say that he has become sort of a legend. You see, it was Terry that I went with when I received my call to ministry. We went to a meeting with Margaret Mallory, the district superintendent, to discern my calling of where God was calling me to go. Little did I know, about 5 years later, I would be serving a church in Napoleon called Christ United Methodist Church, a church that Terry served so well.
10 years.
10 years. Now, it just happened to be when I was first appointed there, I was in the community, and there was a dry cleaner there. I think his name was Bob Jackson. We were working on a project, and he says, "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm Pastor Russ." And see, I had to change my name there because they already had another Ben Shaeffer in another church, and it got too confusing. So my name was Pastor Russ from Napoleon. And I said, "I'm from Christ United Methodist Church." And he says, "Oh, that's Terry Powell's church." You know, some children that used to go to that church, that still go, came back to the church. In fact, they're young adults now. There's in the Christ United Methodist Church, there's a balcony up there. The kids used to play in the balcony during church all nights. And they said that they always remember this about Pastor Terry. he would yell up to them. He says, "If you all don't behave, I'm going to throw you off the balcony." And they were still trembling. Digging through the church history at Christ and Methodist Church, I uncovered something special about Terry's tenure at Christ Church. Here's some notes out of from the church historian from that time. A new parsonage was built by Reverend Terry J. Powell, February 20th, 1978. This brick structure is a 3-bedroom dwelling with a garage attached and an entrance and obtained through the church driveway. Over the years, many improvements and repair work was completed in the new church. Membership of the church in November 1980 was reported at church conference as being 435. So looking back on your career, Terry, I think you've become a church growth specialist. Again, what I like about your style is you have that easy way about you to make things happen. And then I know that because I believe that you truly do love God, which is the most important thing about your ministry. I could go on a while telling Pastor Terry stories, but I was only given a couple minutes. Talk to me afterwards. But I would like to close with just a couple notes. Terry, I've set a goal in ministry. And for those that don't know you, I don't think they could understand this goal, but for those that do know you and love you, I think they will understand that my goal in ministry is to be just like you. That happy-go-lucky style that seems to make things happen easily. And on a final note, before I get to that, I do want to say that you left something in that parsonage behind the dryer, and I thought I would return it to you. There's a pair of socks. I'm going to return your pair. That's one sock, not a pair. Your sock to you tonight, and you can keep it with you as you go into semi-retirement. And I just say, peace be with you, and may God bless you in semi-retirement, because somehow I know, and I believe that we never fully retire from being ministers of God's kingdom, as we set out to reflect God's love